Are your knees clicking every time you walk? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why that clicking is happening and the simple sit-down move that can fix it without ever having to go on another painful walk. You absolutely have to know this. Hey everyone, and welcome to Revitamen. We're going to cover everything you need to know about knee clicking, but make sure you stick around until the end because the final technique I'm going to show you is the one that changed
Everything for seniors' lives.
and I guarantee it will shock you with how simple yet powerful it is. All right, let's not waste any time. The biggest mistake most seniors make when their knees start clicking, and we're starting with a huge one, is continuing to push through painful walks thinking they need to work through it. Let me explain why this is so critical. When your knees click, that sound is often your kneecap tracking improperly over your thigh bone. Every time you take a step with this misalignment, you're essentially grinding away the cartilage that protects your knee joint. Think of it like driving a car with misaligned wheels. The more you drive, the more damage you cause. The clicking isn't just annoying, it's your body's warning signal that something is wrong. If you can just stop ignoring this warning and switch to seated exercises, you'll already be ahead of 90% of people who end up with severe knee damage that could have been prevented. And if you thought that was a game changer, you have no idea what's coming. The seated move I'm going to show you at the end works on a principle that most physical therapists don't even tell their patients about, and it can start reversing knee damage in as little as 2 weeks. Okay, let me explain what's actually happening inside your knee when you hear that clicking sound. Your knee is one of the most complex joints in your entire body. Inside, you have cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and something called synovial fluid that acts like oil in an engine. When everything is working properly, your knee moves smoothly and silently. But when you hear clicking, one of several things could be happening. First, you might have what's called crepitus. This is when the cartilage in your knee has worn down and bone is getting closer to bone. The clicking you hear is the rough surfaces moving against each other. Second, you could have tight tendons or ligaments snapping over the bones in your knee. Third, you might have air bubbles in your synovial fluid that pop when you move. This is usually harmless, but if it comes with pain, it's a different story. Now, here's what most doctors won't tell you. Walking, especially for seniors, can actually make knee problems worse if you're already experiencing clicking. Why? Because walking is a weight-bearing exercise. Every single step you take puts approximately 1.5 times your body weight through your knee joint. If you weigh 160 pounds, that's 240 pounds of pressure on a joint that's already compromised. Over the course of a 30-minute walk, you're taking roughly 3,000 steps. That's 3,000 moments of pressure and friction on an already damaged joint.
But here's the problem. You've probably been told your whole life that walking is the best exercise for seniors. And in many ways, it is. Walking is great for cardiovascular health, it's low impact compared to running, and it gets you outside in the fresh air. But when your knees are clicking and hurting, walking becomes your enemy, not your friend. So what happens when seniors hear their knees clicking? Most people do one of two things. They either completely stop exercising, which leads to weight gain, muscle loss, and even worse joint problems, or they push through the pain, which accelerates the damage. Both approaches are wrong. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 72 years old, and when she came to me, she could barely walk to her mailbox without her knees clicking and causing sharp pain. She'd been to 3 different doctors who all told her the same thing. You're getting older, this is normal, just take some ibuprofen. But Margaret didn't want to live on painkillers. She wanted a real solution. I told her to stop walking completely for 2 weeks. She looked at me like I was crazy. But won't my legs get weaker? She asked. I explained that we were going to replace walking with seated exercises that would actually make her legs stronger without putting any pressure on her knees. Within just 2 weeks of doing the exercises I'm about to teach you, Margaret's clicking reduced by about 70%. After 6 weeks, she was walking again, but now with stronger knees and no clicking at all. Now, let's talk about why seated exercises are so powerful for knee problems. When you sit down, you immediately remove the weight-bearing component from the equation. Your knees can move through their full range of motion without having to support your body weight. This allows you to strengthen all the muscles around your knee, your quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves without causing any additional damage to the joint itself. There's another huge benefit to seated exercises that most people don't realize. When you're seated, you have much better control over the exact movement of your knee. You can move slowly, deliberately, and stop immediately if something doesn't feel right. Compare this to walking, where momentum carries you forward, and you can't just stop mid-stride without potentially causing more injury. The muscles around your knee are like guy wires supporting a tent pole. If those wires are weak or unbalanced, the pole wobbles and can collapse. Your kneecap is the same way. When the muscles around it are weak, your kneecap doesn't track properly, and that's when you get clicking, grinding, and eventually pain. By strengthening these muscles through controlled, seated movements, you're essentially tightening those guy wires and stabilizing the entire joint. Here's another critical point: blood flow. When you're in pain and you avoid moving your knee, blood flow to that area decreases. Less blood flow means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reaching the damaged tissues, which means slower healing. But when you do gentle, controlled movements while seated, you increase blood flow to the knee without causing additional trauma. This is the sweet spot for healing: movement without harm.
Let me address something I hear all the time. But I need weight-bearing exercise for my bones. Yes, you do. Bone density is important, especially for seniors. But here's the thing. You can't build strong bones if your knees are so damaged that you can't exercise at all. We're not talking about giving up weight-bearing exercise forever. We're talking about a strategic pause to let your knees heal and strengthen, and then gradually reintroducing weight-bearing activities when your knees can handle them properly. Now, there's one more thing you need to understand before I show you the main exercise: the concept of active rest. Most people think rest means doing nothing, but for joint problems, active rest, meaning gentle, controlled movement, is far more effective than complete immobility. Complete rest can actually make things worse because your joint stiffens up, muscles weaken, and when you finally do start moving again, you're even more vulnerable to injury. Think about it this way. If you broke your arm and wore a cast for 6 weeks, when that cast comes off, your arm is weak, stiff, and atrophied. The same thing happens with your knees when you completely stop moving them. But if you engage in active rest, controlled, seated movements that maintain muscle strength and joint mobility without causing damage, you come out stronger, not weaker. I also want to talk briefly about inflammation. When your knee is clicking and painful, there's almost certainly inflammation present. Inflammation is your body's response to injury, but chronic inflammation actually prevents healing. Walking on an inflamed knee is like picking out a scab. You're preventing the wound from healing. Seated exercises allow the inflammation to calm down while still maintaining strength and mobility. And the second to last thing you need to know, which is incredibly important, is the role of the VMO muscle in knee health. The VMO, or vastus medialis oblique, is a small muscle on the inner part of your thigh, just above your knee. This muscle is absolutely critical for proper kneecap tracking. When your VMO is weak, your kneecap pulls to the outside, which causes that clicking and grinding sensation. Here's the problem. The VMO is one of the first muscles to weaken when you have knee pain, and it's one of the hardest to strengthen with regular walking. But seated exercises, especially the one I'm about to show you, target the VMO directly. By strengthening this muscle, you're essentially reprogramming your kneecap to track properly again. This is something I see almost everyone missing, and it's sabotaging their results. You can do all the walking and general leg exercises you want, but if you're not specifically targeting the VMO, your knee clicking will likely continue.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The #1 sit-down move that will fix your clicking knees is the seated knee extension with ankle rotation. Here's how you do it. Sit in a sturdy chair with your back supported and your feet flat on the floor. Slowly extend one leg straight out in front of you until your knee is fully straight, but don't lock it aggressively. Hold it there for 2 seconds. Now here's the secret part that makes this so powerful. While your leg is extended, rotate your ankle in a slow circle, 3 times clockwise, then 3 times counterclockwise. This ankle rotation activates the entire kinetic chain of your leg, firing up not just your quadriceps, but also your VMO, your hamstrings, and the stabilizing muscles around your knee. After the rotations, slowly lower your leg back down. That's 1 repetition. Do 10 repetitions on each leg 3 times per day. The reason this works so well is that the ankle rotation forces your brain to engage every muscle in your leg in a coordinated way, which retrains proper movement patterns. Within 2 weeks, most people notice significantly less clicking and pain. So there you have it, the truth about knee clicking and the simple seated move that can fix it. We covered why walking might be making your knees worse, the importance of the VMO muscle, and of course, the most important exercise, the seated knee extension with ankle rotation. Now, I have a question for you. Have you been experiencing knee clicking? And if so, how long have you been dealing with it? Be honest and let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I might even make a follow-up video addressing your specific situations. If you got value from this video, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one.